Well, good morning, good day. Welcome to May 8th, 2022. I'm Kurt, and this is my Good Life meditation. I do this every morning just after waking up, after doing my journal entry, to remind myself of my objectives and principles, and to think about how I did applying those yesterday and to the coming day. Well, yesterday I was off to a rough start, first thing in the morning. Friday really kind of just set me for a loop. Wasn't a busy day, but it was a day of stuff. It was a day off, but I spent the day attending to things. And for some reason, that really wore me out. But not somehow, through a deliberate effort in the morning, although I wasn't intending to do that, through a deliberate effort, I pulled myself out of that in the morning. And that bitter spirit stuck with me the whole day. In fact, it really manifested itself when I was at Tokyo Central, where when we go there, that's a Japanese, Tokyo Central is a Japanese supermarket in Costa Mesa, where we go about every other week. And typically, Yumiko does the cooking, so she's the one that does the grocery shopping. When I get there, I pick up beer, and I usually do that right away. Go get my little case of Asahi, maybe a couple bottles, enough to last me 2 weeks. I allow myself 1 or 2 cans of beer a night with dinner, and or a bottle if I want, and then I put those in the cart, and I'm pretty much done. And I just tool around and follow Yumiko through the store as she picks out all the stuff she needs. Sometimes I just kind of get, taken up in the kind of the wish to be not there, to move on to something else, to get out of the store, that kind of that restless husband thing that goes on sometimes when our wives are doing important things that we're not really involved in, and we also are. Somehow yesterday I didn't get that way. I just kind of was what did it was I looked up at the ceiling. We were at Costco before that, and at the same time I looked up at the ceiling. No, it was IKEA actually, because we had stopped by IKEA. That was something that I did. I know Yumiko loves IKEA, and we happened to be going by, and so I said, "Do you want to stop at IKEA?" And she did, for not to buy anything, but just to try out seats for dining rooms. It doesn't sound too interesting to me, but I knew she would enjoy it. So I said, "Do you want to stop?" And she did. So we pulled over and stopped. And I was in a very deliberate behavior. This was me going out of my way to engage in something that I knew my wife would enjoy. And while we were in there, she was looking at all the dining rooms, and she spent time looking at everything. I looked up at the ceiling, and for some reason, I'd never really noticed this before, but the IKEA in Costa Mesa, it's all just a superstructure. We were at the top floor, and you could see the tin roof and all the wires holding everything up. And for some reason, that false ceiling, it's not really a false ceiling. What is it? It's not a false ceiling. It's a false ceiling feels like the right word, even though it isn't a false ceiling. It was something about the way it was all kind of just put together, and I realized that this whole apparatus that we were walking through was just supported by all those wires and covered up from the atmosphere in the elements by that thin bit of, aluminum ceiling, seemed to be, or steel ceiling, steel sheet metal. And when I brought my eyes back down, I was like, wow, this is kind of very soft. I think the word is sophomoric. This is kind of a sophomoric thought, right? When you're in your second year of college and the world starts opening up, and you're like, it's all a game. It's a giant machine. It's those that kind of revelatory thought. This is in that vein, but it really struck me. And suddenly I was looking around, and I was like, you know, we are, and more sophomoric thoughts. We are a bunch of ants. We're racing around this little hive in here, picking out our IKEA knickknacks. And from that point forward, kind of like the dream spell was broken, and I was in I wasn't in a bad mood at all, but I was in a live. I wouldn't call it a good mood, but it was a good mood. It was more than that. It was like a lively feeling. It would be the same feeling a little bit like if you'd suddenly found yourself awake from death and conscious, and you knew you just came awake from death, but you didn't want to yell it out at anybody because that sounds pretty weird. But it's like whoa, I'm okay. I'm just gonna go along with everything. I'll push the cart. I'll sit in this chair. And then we got in the car and we drove to Tokyo Central. And while we were there, I was doing the same thing, pushing the cart, nodding at people, kind of going out of my way to smile. I saw Jeff. He's one of the employees at Tokyo Central, a Japanese man who's been in America a long time, speaks English really well. Very vociferous man. He's very loud and a nice guy. And I said, "Hey, Jeff." And he was his usual self. I don't know if he recognized me, but he was, "Good to see you. And I said, we had a little bit of small talk, and I was more engaged than usual. That stuck with me the rest of the day. I never woke up from that. I should never say I never went back to sleep. Because I guess it is a kind of a sleep, right? It's sleepwalking. Sleepwalking through the routines of the day. I feel like it's a little bit with me still now. So I gained that by looking out of the what is it? It's like the set. It's like a set at a movie set, right? All of this. And I lifted the veil a little bit, looking up at the wires at IKEA, and I came awake from death, appreciating the life, appreciating the moment. Maybe that's what it would be like suddenly if an ant, stumbling over a rock, suddenly stopped at the top and kind of looked up at the sky and in their little ant eyes. Although I don't think their eyes are the things that impress ants very much. They're not their vision, but whatever senses, and then they kind of woke up a little bit. So it was a good day, a really unique day. Gotta see if I can make that last. Okay, so let's do the good life. Oh, and slept fine last night. I went to bed, woke up, the alarm woke me up. Didn't even wake up middle of the night. Okay, let's do the good life. 7 objectives, 30 principles. These are, first, the objectives. Number 1 is to be always ready to die, to have my everything in a settled state, or at least in a state that I can pick them up and go. No, I'm not picking anything up and go when I die. I'm leaving everything behind. Yeah, in a state to leave them behind, so that my wife and daughter don't find too much of a mess in my life. This includes my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work. Number 2 is the good and effective use of time. To not waste my days, but to live my days. Oh, that sounds so sappy. but it's true. 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. To keep working at these 7 and 30, making them better, adding or removing. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. Like I did yesterday, I was reacting well to the day. I started off with a bad morning, and I pulled myself around, and it turned it into a really exceptional day. The next is the performance of good actions, just doing good things throughout the day. Number 6 is the recognition of true limits and true opportunity, so that I'm working within the bounds of reason and not expecting things that are not possible or doable. It's the same thing. Next is a final objective is to just do one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately. I forgot to check if I had a circle today and for the week. Yesterday, did I meet my criteria? Did I make a video? Yes, I did. Did I write in my journal? Yes, I did. I did 2 entries. 1, kind of explaining how difficult the morning was starting out, and then 2, a second entry to follow that, explaining how I turned it around. And then 3, did I read 10 pages? Yes, I did. So good. I earned another week, another colored dot. I think I'm going to go with the orange color crayon. Let's see how that'll work out. Now my 30 principles. Number 1 is to be, is the principle of war. To always be fighting against what I think is true. To try to demonstrate that what I think is true is actually false. I'm less worried about the stuff that's coming into my world, into my system, because it has a rigorous path to get into me, as I am about the stuff that I already believe that's made it through, that made it through on false pretense. Number 2 is the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, which are how I push through life. Number 3 is the principle of the homunculus, the suggestion that free will is an illusion, that when I die, my consciousness goes with me. It doesn't go anywhere. It just winks out and will degrade and probably be burned up. Well, the consciousness won't be burned up. The consciousness will be out. It'll be like a light, a candle flickering out. It won't be there anymore. Just the corpse of my candle, the candle of my corpse, will be left to burn up in the oven. Next is the Anchorhold, the suggestion that my free will, my consciousness is what is stuck within me. It can't get out and go anywhere. It will, and I can't really connect with anyone as a result. And then purpose? No. The home of good and evil. The idea that right and wrong, good and evil are opinions that I maintain. They don't really exist. They're not out there, something that I apprehend out there in the universe. They're something that I made up in my head. And then purpose. My 3 purpose are biology, to have a child and raise her to adulthood. Virtue, to be a virtuous human being, making the world a better place, trying to improve the happiness of others, particularly thinking creatures, the creatures that can suffer in particular also. And then mission. My mission is the sharing of the story of the good life. The story of going alone, and the good life creed. Next comes number 6, the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, including you and me. And we're soon going to fall to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, including you and me. And it's good to recognize what that nature is, abide it, and live accounting for it. And then after principle of nature comes maturity. No, the pirate ride. The suggestion that free will is just a very convincing illusion. The universe nudges and pushes us from so many angles that we're really just dealing with results of what the rest of the universe has to say in our own actions. Hardly our own. Although we can make any choice we want, the choices that we make are far more, have more to say about the way the universe operates than about the way that we think. And then comes maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude, which is how we live a mature life, by wisely remembering our successes and failures and having the strength to do better. And then the social principle, we need one another. Human beings don't operate well or for very long alone. It's good to form connections, to form families and communities, even though those things have their own challenges. And then public speaking, to use few words, carefully chosen words, and very deliberate words, to not take my speech lightly, or my writing, and to not gossip about others, not talk about other people behind their back with others. I can think about them, but I won't utter words. And then comes the principle of temperance, and the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy. A temperate life is a life of controlled consumption. Just so much work, just so much play, eating, drinking, sex, everything in moderation. We suffer a little bit because we deny ourselves sometimes what we want. A temperate life is by definition a simple life. And we also can use apathy to recognize what is outside of our control and to release ourselves from the sense that we need to, that we're connected somehow with things outside of our control. Although they may impact us, they're still outside of our control and don't deserve undue attention. Next comes the horror show, a reminder that life is a terrible place, chock full of awful things happening to people and animals, plants even, every day, all around us. And just to remember that that's the case, so that I take the world seriously, try to reduce the suffering and alleviate the pain, and to be prepared for my own bits of that. If not now, it's coming for me. And then the principle called that which must be borne, what must be carried. And what we have to carry are the weight of our responsibilities, the decisions that we've made to take on burdens, whether that be a burden of a career, a mortgage, a family, whatever it is. We carry those things and carry them well to our best of our ability to completion. We also bear the fact and the reality of the horror show, like adults. Then comes the Feast of Offal. It's an activity that we do when we get upset, and we spew our upset out into the world to let everybody know, soiling them and ourselves in the process. It's also what we do when we consume the upset of others, when we allow their upset to get through into our mouth and swallow it down. It makes us sick. So I don't do that either, or try not to. I'm pretty good at that. It's a little bit like gossip in a way. No, it's not. Where did that come from? It's not at all like gossip. The Feast of Offal is it's like gossiping about ourselves, maybe. We're throwing it out into the world about ourselves, telling the world our inner stuff, our secret stuff. That's why people consume it too. It makes good fodder for gossip. Ew, it's just so gross. So I don't want to do that. Next comes Distraction. We spend our whole lives amply and ably distracting ourselves from the emptiness of the universe, which is the next principle, the great indifference. We do that through our work and our play and our hobbies, our sports we like to watch, the TV that entertains us, the gossip that we perform, and the gods that we believe in. Those are our distractions. La, 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 I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear it. So I don't have to witness the emptiness of the universe. Which is quite a terrifying thing, especially if you're hoping for more beyond death. Okay, next comes the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else, or be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing right now. Right here. Right who? Then comes the Path of Wildness. It's a way to move from one life into another. Something Yumiko and I have done quite a few times. Big life changes, wholesale uprooting, and starting over. It's a fun thing, and it's something that really yields results. It's like going from taking your harvest, taking your seeds from one fertile field to another, having a season of planting in this field, and then saying, okay, well, in the next season, I'm going to go over yonder hill to a meadow beyond, and there's fresh water over there. I'm going to plant over there. Now, it may not be as ideal as you imagine, but it is a fresh vista. It is a new place. It's funny, I'm just reading right now about the pilgrims coming across the Atlantic to, was it 1608, something like that? 1620 maybe? And coming across, and that was the vision that they had. They knew it would be hard, but they knew it would also be a great adventure. That's what it is to the path of wildness. You step upon the path. You know it's risky. You think of the options. You decide a way forward, and you kind of lean in with your gut. That's what it is. The next principle is the risk of avoiding risk, the surface level, and the deep risk of life. The deep risk is not finding ourselves, not taking the time if we're so inclined to discover, who we are, so, as the hippies would say. The surface level risks is I want to say the easy stuff. It's not easy, but it's easier than the deep stuff. The surface level risks are education and career, finding a spouse, making a family and a home, and saving for our old age, security in our old age, the ability to retire and have peace. A lot of us focus on just these, and we neglect the draw to get to know ourselves better. And then when we're old, we wonder who we are. Although we may be safe and sound and have a beautiful family and lots of pictures on the wall and a nice home, lots of memories of family vacations and the like, but who am I? Sadly, it's a little too late when we're old, because you've already become who you are. You are the consequence of the choices that you've made. You are that old man or that old woman that's safely ensconced in that comfortable home with a nice pension or Social Security and maybe a golf cart in the garage and a 5-year-old car that you rarely use, that you take out to go to the grocery store, and maybe on the weekends for breakfast and a cup of coffee. And then the grandkids, the kids bring the grandkids by to see us. And we watch our familiar shows, and we love America. And we like the things we like on Facebook. We don't use that other social media. What's a TikTok? We love the 80s. Yeah, the 80s were a good time. Oh, just to go back to that. Yeah. Now, modern America, it's lost it. I'm very worried about that. The frame of mind, right? This is the frame of mind that comes of those settled years, right? the years beyond the opportunity for to assuage the deep level risk. But if we take on that deep level risk, then we find something, perhaps. Then we've got something that we carry into our old age that is more than the settled home and the 5-year-old car and the drive for coffee. There's a something that has been met deep within. All of that other stuff becomes just like cherry blossom flowers falling in the summer, in a spring breeze, just kind of floating along. You know, television is just a television show. You know, the grandkids and family are beautiful things, but they're not more than that. America's just fine. New generations come and generations go, and it's always largely the same. Facebook, I could take it or leave it. There's a different end, having pursued that deep thing early. If you wait, that opportunity won't be there anymore. You can try. You can get in the RV, go out and see all 50 states. More surface level stuff. It's like you can't get to the deep anymore. Yeah. So it really is a risk, a very genuine risk. Next is the sin and damnation. In my worldview, sin relates to being dishonest, believing things that are not true, or gossiping. That's about it. I leave the rest up to the civil law. So to enumerate them, there are 7 sins in my worldview. These are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too easily; faith, believing things just for the sake of believing them. If I just tell myself that, the fact that I believe it is enough evidence that it's true, that's a nonsense position. It's a nonsense foundation. It's resting our castle on sand. It's dangerous, and it's the easy way. I don't like the easy way when it comes to truth. Faith, falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, believing things that are categorically nonsense; authority, believing things based on being oppressed by those that are claim it's true; dogma, believing something because a lot of people believe that way a long time, and a lot of people believe it, and it's the blessed tradition, and look at the book. And then somehow I got 8. And then gossip, falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, gossip. Now I got 6. I'm all messed up. Let me try one more time. Sin and damnation consists of 7 sins: falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and gossip. There we go. Whew. Next comes and the oblivion part. The damnation part comes because we lived a damned life when we are untrue, believe things that are untrue, or spend our time worrying about other people's affairs. But we're particularly talking about other people's affairs. Next comes complete oblivion. It's just the suggestion that since we don't have a soul, there is no God. We won't live on after we're dead. We will never see our loved ones again. We'll never have a chance to reunite with them or reconcile our differences, and there'll be no justice after death. All there will be after death is just an eternity of nothing. It's beyond nothing, of oblivion, of, of, of not even the ability to perceive the nothing. And we're never coming back in any way, shape, or form. At least there's no good reason to think so. Any claims otherwise are building, again, you know, castles and superstructure on wispy nothings. No one's been able to demonstrate that there's anything more. It's just wishful thinking. So, complete oblivion is coming for you and me, and very soon, really soon, we're going to be wiped out. So, today's the day to embrace the ones we love, to reach out and connect, and to see, to facilitate justice. That's a better way to think of it. Not to execute justice, but to facilitate justice. Complete oblivion. Next is the great life adventure. It's kind of like the risk of avoiding risk. It's the great life adventure that is the thing that assuages the deep level risk. It's one or more experiences in life, preferably when we're young, that become the centerpiece of who we are. Do it, if you're so inclined. You'll regret it you'll likely regret it if you don't. Even if it kills you, even if it leaves you broke and busted, and your family scratching their head, why the hell did you do that? Limping for the rest of your life. It'll be a blessed limp. A blessed limp. Blessed limp. Next is the season of philosophy. A time to record what we've learned along the way. Just have the pen ready. Have the writing apparatus ready. Something to write upon. That's why I keep that thing there. So that when the words come, you can jot them down. Next comes the bullseye aim, striving for the mark and yet missing, recognizing that we're usually going to miss. The uphill climb. Life is a steady climb uphill, getting up when the alarm goes off and trudging through the day. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the execution of our principles towards the objectives that we've set for ourselves and a better life. Nothing is enough. A reminder that sometimes it's fine to have very little or nothing. And then finally, the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time. That was something I was doing yesterday too. I should talk about that. The principle of fun has two sub-principles. Hope, and retrospect. So if we're having fun, this is the moment of now. We're having fun now. We can also hope, we can look forward, and we can look back. That was something I was doing yesterday in the midst of all of that stuff I was telling you about at the IKEA and the supermarket. I was taking the dial, because the moment of now can be a lot of fun. It's very immediate, of course, the moment of now. But it's also fraught with messiness, there's a fly in your Chardonnay, rain on your wedding day, as the singer would say, right? All the things that happen that get in the way of being perfect. So sometimes when it gets a little bit too messy, what I've recently started to do is I kind of turn the dial forward, and I'll look forward, hope, anticipation of the next adventure in life, which freed me when I was going back to Japan. So I actually keep Google Earth on my phone. That's the phone. And I'll actually, open it up and look around, wander around at Tommy, the place we want to live. Or retrospect, turn the focus back and think about the past. Think about I was doing that yesterday. I was thinking about being back in Japan, and I was remembering walking through the mountains in the rain and going to Matsuri, to a festival with my family, and having okonomiyaki together, and also having oden parties at my wife's family's house, and her father, having the shichimi and turning it up and mixing it up, and it was so good. So taking the dial, try to focus on the moment of now, but having the ability to turn that forward when it gets a little bit rough, and anticipate the future and brought back. I was doing that actively, consciously, for the first time in my life yesterday. And it really worked. Maybe that was part of the reason I was having such a great day. Kind of like snapped me out of my reverie. I was like in the moment of now, and my foot was hurting yesterday. My foot was hurt, so I'd think about, going back to Japan. My past life in Japan. Or I was also thinking, another one that was very distinct. I took the dial back, and I went back, and I remembered what it was like to drop in on a wave when I would surf in Humboldt at Moonstone Beach with my red surfboard. And that feeling of paddling into the wave, lifting you up and jumping up on the board and dropping down into the wave. Big face. And then I'd be in the supermarket and I'd suddenly, there's Jeff. Hey, Jeff. That's what was happening. It was fun. It really made now an immediate experience that was augmented and buttress, what are the flying buttress, holding it up by the memory of the past and the anticipation of the future. Principle of fun, very last principle in my good life creed, and probably becoming more and more a critical one to keep in my mind as I move forward. Okay, so that's enough of the good life. I did that. Now, let's talk about today. Today's a Sunday. I've got the day off. I haven't finished all of the cleaning. I haven't done the second floor of the house. So after this is done, I'll go over and read the Bible. I wasn't on Isaiah 32. I think I'm on Isaiah 37. I keep losing track. So I'll read my Bible, and then Isaiah 37, I'll study that, and then I'll sit down and finish uploading this. And then I'll do, after that, I'll go downstairs, I'll feed the dogs. I'll have a little bit of salad, and then I'll start my light cleaning. I won't do the noisy stuff. I won't wake my family up. And then I'll begin my day in earnest. That's my plan. Anyway, I wish you all the best. Thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye-bye.